happy to see, despite it being a graveyard shift for us, after a lunch, we still have full attendance. So it's very heartening for us. I hope this also gets us the attention that we want. Everybody feels energized. Our panel is the most illustrious one I could have got for this discussion. So I have with me some brief introductions first before we start the event for this theme. Most importantly, we have Mr. Shubhankar Chatterjee. He is the Chief Supply Chain Officer at Cummins, an industry veteran for more than 25 years. Venkat Narayanan, he's the GM of International Procurement at Mercedes-Benz. Ram Mohan, he's Head of Business Operations at Tata Auto Components, also known as TACO. Mr. Deepak, he's Head of Logistics at Ather. And Karthik, who's Head of Digital Supply Chain, he tells me, at TAFE. All of them have industry experience of well over 15, 20, 25 years. And all of them have been in part of logistics and supply chain in almost all their career lives. To start this session, I must first give a preamble as to what we're going to talk about. This is digitized ecosystem, and we'll hopefully, by the end of this session, might have revealed to you the secret sauce as to how these organizations, these giant organizations, have done something. And if you can take a leaf out of what these guys have been able to do and bring them, import them into your own supply chain in some manner, it would be a great offtake of this. So first and foremost, let me start with Karthik. Before we started this session, we were exchanging notes as to how we should kickstart the session. Karthik brought forward a very beautiful landscape as to how digitization and digitalization has evolved over the last few decades. And I'll hand over to Karthik to kind of relay the same once again for this audience here. And then maybe we'll deep dive into more actual cases, more case studies, which all of you can learn from. Karthik.
Thank you, Mr. Anil, and good afternoon to all. So before we start deep diving into the topic of digitized ecosystem, let's take a step back and let's go back in time. So I'll set this context into two folds. One is on pre-digital era, which is the period from 2000 to 2010s, where the extent of globalization and the supply chain ecosystem, the concept has evolved, and what has happened post-digital era. So these are two interesting areas we can break this out to understand this whole theme around digitized ecosystem. So let me go back to year 2000, when the supply chains of the world were very in a forming position within the organization. So I would directly go to an example where Ford Motor from Detroit, Daimler Chrysler, and the General Motors formed together to form their own ecosystem, which is Covisint. It's called Collaboration, Visibility, and Integration. So they created their own integrated supply network. So that's where this whole manufacturing ecosystem started. The whole idea behind it is to understand one data flow, one information flow, and one complete transparency within the suppliers and the customers. So coming back to the digital era, where the extent of Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution kick-started, and with the rise of internet and the technology evolution, as well as the supply chains become more global, right? We in India as well started to experience more global supply chains with a lot of tier ones and the multi-tier suppliers exposed to the global OEM requirements, and the whole industry shift changes during that era. And thanks to digital revolution happening through the fourth industrial revolution, where things started to pick up pace in the technology space. But it is one side of the thing is the positive note, but other side is on the supply chain ecosystem itself has become more complex than ever before. And I think from right from that moment, I think there is no turning back. Supply chains are always becoming more vulnerable to disruptions, and getting more complex. So coming back to the theme, digitized ecosystem, I think with the extent of digital technologies evolving and the complex environment we are in, this is the right time to adopt to more digital technologies and embrace technologies within the organization to have this interconnected supply chain network, right from customer till the last tier of the supply chain. So with this note, I would like to hand it over to Anil for further deliberation on this topic.
Glad you set the tone for me in terms of what is the backdrop of digitalization, so to speak. Another take of how digitization and digitalization can be distinct is something I would like Deepak to throw light on us for.
Yeah, when CII came up with this topic of digitized ecosystem, it reminded me of an incident within my team members. Like for one NC, a team member came, scanned a LR copy and stored in a drive, Google Drive, and he told records are digitalized. So now, yeah, that struck my mind because there is many a times, be it a fresher or an experienced professional, we interchangeably used digitalization and digitization together, but it is not so. Like while scanning a document as digitization, digitalization is using some tool to derive some information from the data which has been digitized. So, and that is a journey as well. So digitization is a first step to achieve the last step of digital transformation, whereas the intermediate step is about digitalization. So that is one key difference which I wanted to bring in this forum, because the fundamentals has to be clear in order to achieve the end goal. Yeah.
So I'm glad you cleared the air for most of us. Between the act of digitizing a record and digitalization in terms of not only flow of that record to from one organization to another or from one department to another, are there different genres in terms of being able to use for interoperability between organizations, or is it the same? Is the concept the same?
So both ways, it can be same and different depending on the requirement of the organization and whatever digital transformation journey we might be into. Customer centricity will be the primary thing which we'll have to have as a primary goal. For, in my experience, what we have digitized and digitalized is like a insurance claim process being built into the TMS itself. So that is one classic case of digitization of LR which we did, which helped us to digitalize claim intimation and processes, reimbursement process itself, which integrated with the third-party insurance companies as well. So that is one classic case of how a digital transformation can be done for a bit of the value chain.
So just to clarify, what you're trying to say is that in your downstream process of transiting goods, you've been able to digitize the ecosystem between yourself and the insurance underwriters, as well as also your service partners, and the claims processes of any transit-related damages, losses, or instances are now completely digitized, and there's no document movement between any of the parties.
Correct. So it starts, correct. It is that, and it starts, I mean, it involves not only two parties, but actually four parties. It starts with the OEM. We have consignee, who are the dealers. We have transporters who have to issue LR. That is also digitized. Dealers as well give a digitized version of POD as well. And now these three parties, through all the digitized forms, through a digital platform, we are sending the reimbursement claim form to the insurance partner, who is the fourth stakeholder through a API integration. And whatever they process internally, each milestone can be seen in our digital platform till reimbursement. So that is how the entire process is in this value chain. One thing is it's about visibility, but it is also about improving the data quality and also processing time reduction. So that is how this digitalization has helped us.
So to my mind, what you are instantly gaining out of this is certain amount of visibility, certain amount of data traction or data evolution in terms of as to what has happened. You can do analysis and such. Is there any other cost-related advantage to this, or manpower-related, or skills-related, anything?
So yeah, cost is there, but majorly it's about cost can be seen in two factors. Like one, the person who actually does that work earlier, who did that work earlier through a manual process, but also it also reduces almost by 30 to 40% the cycle time. We get the money back sooner. Whereas in a manual process, we'll have to wait for, if it is for n days, through a digitalized process, we will get money back in n minus 10 days. So that is how the improvement we can see in terms of cost.
That's excellent, because the cash cycle then improves, to be able to achieve that. And that brings me to a point for Venkat. A similar possibility of, cash coming in handy, or cash playing strong for you, is a supplier side, procurement cycle, which can be sped up by not only digitization or digitalization in this ecosystem, but also about cash coming in handy. So is there an example that you can share with us which makes sense on the supplier side or procurement side?
Well, Anil, good afternoon. Thanks for this good question. Before going into this, my answer, let me start with certain things. So first thing is, regarding digitalization, I would say it can't be a one-dimensional approach. It has to be multi-dimensional. One dimension is with the OEMs or the prime manufacturer who sell the products to their customer directly into the market, where the will has to be there. When the topic came as a secret sauce, there is no secret sauce exactly. It is the will. The will is the secret sauce. I can say there are many ingredients to the secret sauce what we are discussing at the moment. It's the will of the organization to adopt the digitalization techniques and move forward. That's the first point when it comes to the manufacturers and OEMs. Then when it comes to the supplier market, you can see that of late you see a lot of adaptation of digital supply chain, especially in the auto components industry, which I would say that in the recent times, one of the study reveals that close to more than 58% of the Indian auto suppliers are already working on the digital platforms. So that's a good sign. Digital procurement platforms, I would rather put it. So it's also very important that as the component supplier who is dealing with the OEMs, it is also important from their perspective to have more transparency in terms of their tiered approach, their tier suppliers, to have a more clarity and transparency on the supply chain, on the inventories, on their planning, stock planning, and all these aspects. And the third approach, the third dimension, I would say, it is more to do with the system integrated, so-called the tech companies, who enable this, everything at the back end. So they are the most important and integral part of this entire process, because they are the people who come to the market or go to the OEMs or the tier one companies to sell those software products, let it be an ERP, let it be MSC and other products where they can have a edge over their competitors. They come and say, okay, my product works better than this, it has better features and this. But what is also important is those companies should also look at scalability as the most important aspect. Today, whenever an OEM or any auto company or auto parts manufacturing company want to move forward or grow, so there is definitely some changes in their existing ERP or the supply, digital supply setup. So when they want to adopt, always we see the integrators come in and pitch in their new products rather than enhancing their existing products. So this involves a lot of cost, a lot of time, a lot of redundancy in the existing setup. This is something where we need to address. Now, coming to your point, Anil, yes, in procurement, there are a lot of opportunities. In fact, I would say from my organization perspective, we have developed a lot of in-house systems. Of course, from the inbound to the outbound to the last mile delivery to the customers. It's totally digitized. In fact, we have gone one step ahead in procurement. We are now trying out, we did a lot of RPAs and we are trying out even bot with artificial intelligence to create purchase orders and contracts, which can negotiate with the vendors in such a complex environment. So yes, the things are moving forward, but a lot to do. We are not still there when we talk about 100% digital supply chain. Thank you.
In terms of procurement, one very important factor is also, since you mentioned close to about 58% of the automakers or automotive organizations have converted to digital procurement. Is there a case as to why this is going to be advantageous, whether it is some cost reduction, whether it is speed to onboard a supplier, whether it is finding new suppliers? What is the genuine benefit that one can draw out of this?
See, digitalization always doesn't mean that we derive cost immediately, because always it takes time for a supply chain to evolve digitally also. Supply chain evolving the manual process and supply chain evolving in digitally also takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Just because I've adopted something digitally, everything is done automatic through SAP or ERP, any other ERP system, we would not get the benefit. We need to have that much time, that much resilience, to have also patience to also look at not only adopting, also adapting. What is very important is many companies just try to adopt the digital solutions, but what they forget in the process is they don't adapt their process to suit them. Because if you see most of the IT solutions or digital solutions, what you get in the market, they are made based on certain outcome or certain efficiency in their mind with respect to reducing the redundancy, increasing the transparency and all these things. So whenever we adopt any process, any digital system in our company, it is also important we use that as an opportunity to adapt. It means we look at, we see, make the process more efficient, more leaner. It is very important because both has to go hand in hand, the process and the digital. So it is very important here. Of course, companies adapt these digital ecosystem for the cost primarily in the set, but it has other advantage. It removes the entire redundancy in the entire supply chain, because nobody is going to get paid for those redundancy. The cost is lying somewhere, So what is very important is neither you lose or I lose. So end of the day, these auto component manufacturer adopting these digitalization will also help them in managing their inventory better, bringing more transparency, giving better advantages to their planning cycles, and also address exigencies in terms of any OEMs increasing the schedule or decreasing or ramping up or ramping down, or change management, which is also a very important aspect today, because nowadays we see a lot of change management coming into the picture with a lot of disruptions in the market. So it is very important that it's not only on the cost end of the day, it is also making the things efficient. That's one of the primary objective also, Anil, when we are talking about RPAs and bots in procurement, because it is not to reduce the manpower in the system. It is to ensure the manpower is deployed for more impactful areas rather than, removing these mundane activities or the daily activities from their scope.
I thought it was all about cost.
See, end of the day, cost is an outcome. What we save is an outcome, but that is not the purpose. The purpose is to remove the redundancy and focus the resource in a better way, which will again, end of the day, going to give you that edge over your competitors.
So efficiency.
Yeah.
Let me do a straw poll by, say, a raise of hands. 5 of you, all of you are part of procurement in one way or the other. How many of all 5 of you have been using digitized platforms as a process for your independent organizations? Or even if you yourselves have not been doing it, how many of you have been doing it? I'm just saying, raise of hand. Have you used?
We all are using. I guess all of us.
All 5 of you. So which means your data point is not, very off. It's beyond 60%. We have 100% of you guys who've gone through procurement by digitized mode. But I want to bring this same point to Ram Mohan, because you mentioned something about having handled in your recent past an operation of global procurement, if this was a case in point in terms of digital or digitized procurement mechanism, how is it that sits well in a global value chain where you are procuring for a global supply chain?
Hello. I was a part of Cummins before in the era of from 2003 to 2007. That was the time the Cummins has gone in a big way to start sourcing out of India with LCC sourcing. And we have done digitized activities a lot, but then we could not able to report because the system is not in place that much. But Oracle-based system that what the Cummins has developed, and that's been integrated, like ISCM was an integrated supply chain management was there in place, that it has been from the supplier, from the like integrator, and as well as still there's a plant, individuals, there's a sourcing, the consuming plant. Everything has been integrated. And then apart from that, in the within a company as well, from the employee, like as it's expenses getting covered and all, because somebody has started putting in that within 24 hours, it has to trigger to the manager, it has to get approved. Within 24 hours, that has to be go back to the employee account. That type of system, Cummins is the first company that which has been introduced in 2006-5 onwards. Yeah, and apart from that is in my tenure along with Vijay Inamke, and we have done one activity that's PPAP outsourcing. I was a part of their CS plant, and we were there for 3 months. And the first company, Cummins, has started that outsourcing offshore office in India, just to take care of B and C class items by sitting in India. The people handle the overseas suppliers as well, because their suppliers are getting integrated to India office. They started giving all documentation, but through videos and as well as
so like a GCC.
Like a GCC. It has been done. It started with the 4 people. I think Cummins is having the more than 50 odd people today. And the same has been in 2008 or 9, the GM has copied the same, and they started their similar offshore office in Bangalore office. That because anything which has come in India, which today it was the Cummins is the one who has done much ahead of any other company in digitization platform side.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, since we're talking about Cummins, you must take a bow, Mr. Chatterjee, and now also do give us a peek at how your, not only, so this has been done some 15, 20 years back, as Ramon mentioned. So, what is this evolution? At the other end of this evolution curve, what has this brought Cummins to today? Where is a digital planning system or digitized planning system today?
So I'd like to thank Ram first that he did part of my job, okay? And I'm associated with Cummins for the last 30 years now. So I'm associated with Cummins now for past 30 years. And one thing which you rightly said is that we brought these systems, like we were the first to bring QS 9000 way back in 1994. So what was developed by the Ford, GM, Chrysler, the AIAG. So that's past. Now what has happened over last 10 years or 15 years, let me touch on that. So we did set up all the systems, and we did set up the IPO, we did started sourcing here from globally. Ram was part of it, my colleagues who are there today. So that today the IPO to the entire purchasing team of more than 120 people. We actually export more than $500 million today out of India. We're trying to do at least $1 billion now, moving towards. So that's happening. What is the role of how we are globally adapting digitization? So before that, I need to tell you that Cummins in India, we are today at around a $3.2 billion organization. Globally, we are about $34 billion organization. And I have got 2 roles. I manage India supply chain as the Chief Supply Chain Officer, and I'm also the Global Digital Transformation Leader for Cummins Inc. So we have about 141 factories globally. So what are we doing? I will give 2 parts, the story in the 2 parts. One is on the supply chain side, which is on the planning side. Okay, in the planning side, if you look at 10 years back or 15 years back, SNOP was a good tool, very good tool. Okay, and we all used SNOP. We adopted the concept of IBP or SBP, the Synchronous Business Planning, way back in 2015. And now that was very good. What IBP did was to deliver value to the customer. So it's not just on-time delivery. It is the role of supply chain to ensure that you are able to fulfill the order to the best possible extent. You create value for the customer. And I'll give you some examples. So what we run is a 3-year cycle which is called the SBP cycle, the synchronous business planning cycle, and we intake the demand into it. And so that's a 3-year period. And then we look at our capacities, in-house manufacturing capacities, our supply capacities, the parts, procurement capacities, and also the logistics capacities, which we have in our warehouses and all. So that's a 3 to 5 year period, which we take the long-term demand. And then when it comes to the fold of 3 months, we call it the functional planning. We look at the exact what we are supposed to do. That's typically broken down into 2 months tentative, 1 month form. What has changed over last few years is that on top of our regular, that was the challenge what Venkat was saying, that on top of, so we are basically an Oracle-based company, and Oracle is a pretty orthodox traditional tool. What we have done is we are using SaaS applications which sits on top of Oracle, doesn't disturb the functioning of Oracle, but gives us more capability. I'll tell you what IBP does. So today, for example, if there is a vehicle coming from Chennai and it meets with an accident and it's carrying some critical parts, okay, if I have to change my production plan and if I have to do it in Oracle, it takes a lot of time. But today with those applications, I can do a scenario planning and decide, okay, instead of producing this particular engine, I can produce another engine, and that has a good demand, and also there is a demand for that, and it is profitable. So that decision, which part to produce, which aggregate to produce on time, what is the inventory out there, these scenario planning capabilities are way advanced today when we have SaaS applications, which are more digitally enabled, which are AI enabled. That's one example. The other examples are, for example, when inventory is a perpetual problem for every organization, okay? And with conventional planning, what happens is that because the demand is so volatile, as it gets further away, it looks very nice. As it gets closer and closer, you see the demand is actually changing. There's too much of volatility in the market, okay? And especially in the auto supply chain, you see so much of unpredictability in the demand. So what you thought will be the actual production plan, as you enter the month, it is totally changed. And it is not just the aggregate number. When you look at the SKUs, the line items, the part number, the bill of material, it has totally changed. What do you do? How do you respond? This ability to respond is something which the digital platforms help us, okay? You can really do much better when you have a SaaS enabled or digitally enabled planning tool, okay? Which does your demand planning and the supply planning both. And then when it comes to inventory, the inventory, it looks like, so what is the problem of a planner? The planner's problem is that they don't have visibility, okay? They don't have good visibility, because of which they're not able to cut down on the inventory. Now, if you can give a good forecasting tool, a good visibility, end-to-end visibility, what the planner can do, they can really look at the reorder points. The inventory sits at the reorder points and the safety stocks. It doesn't sit anywhere else. Are you able to touch your safety stocks to bring down the inventory? So I spoke about demand fulfillment, which is the top line. And then you look at the inventory optimization, which is your cash flow, okay? So top line, cash flow, and also cost. For example, I'll give you some examples of how we can improve the overall cost of running the show. Is if your demand planning is better, you can optimize your shifts. Okay, instead of running overtime, instead of running Saturdays and Sundays, okay, you can really optimize the shift and do a level loading. That helps you improve your overall manufacturing overheads. So you can improve your top line, you can improve your manufacturing overheads, you can improve your cash flow. Cash is king, okay, where all the inventory, which locks up the inventory. And so these are multiple tools. I will give one more example. Forecasting is historically forecasting accuracies based on the traditional orthodox statistical models has been quite inefficient, actually. If you look at a typical forecasting tool, it will give you an efficiency of around 55 to 60% max, not more than that. But based on that, how do you actually improve the delivery? But if you go to the today's world, when you bring in the concept of point of sale data, and then you plug that into AI-enabled demand sensing model, which we are doing, the forecast actually goes up to almost 85%. So there's a huge difference between a 56% to a 85% when the forecast accuracy increases, okay? You can optimize your inventories, you can improve your delivery performance, you can really optimize your factory operations, and really reduce your costs. So to summarize, I would say the digital platforms or digitalization is not just for the sake of optimizing your operations. It can help you to improve your overall delivery performance for the organization. It can help you to optimize the cost structure of the organization, and it can also help you to improve your cash flow.
So, brilliant, boss. I have three offshoot questions of this, but let me first take one of those and come to Venkat. And this is about, you mentioned about, Mr. Chatterjee mentioned about inventory visibility or transparency, which is a result of digitizing, the visibility part of the value chain, whether it is inventory on the road or on sea or whatever. But digitization enables you with a certain visibility. I'd like you to take this point and tell us about A, how can it be done? B, when it is done, what are the offshoot advantages of that?
Well, this, especially I'll split down into two, this entire topic, rather into three phases. One is the inbound, when we talk about, because we are predominantly a CKD plant, we are totally dependent on our mother plant in HQ for the parts. We do only the assembly in India at the moment. So I'll split that into inbound, then in-plant, and then the outbound. Because outbound is also very important because for us, that since last 3 years, we are billing directly to the customers. So we don't have the concept of dealers anymore in our company. We call them franchisee partners. So every car is billed directly to the customer from our plant. So it becomes very imperative for us because end of the day, in my previous discussion, I told you about, we don't look at cost as the only parameter. What is also important is, of course, Mr. Shubhankar also took this point about the customer satisfaction, because we are dealing now directly with the customer. The in-between layer of touch point, which is the dealers, are no more there. So it is also becoming more relevant in our case to ensure that the customers are given what they are committed on time and the right product. So let me come back to the incoming. So how we adopted it, yes. Of course, we adopted a portion of a global system. What we have a global landscape of IT system, what we use across all the CKD locations of the plant, with a mix of our own internal SAP. So they communicate with each other with those systems, and then we have a kind of a tool which is used to automatically create a kind of a PPC model in the system based on the inventories, the entire packing list, the things. But it all works during the utopian world, it works perfectly well. But of late, what we have seen in the last close to a year, especially on the Red Sea crisis and all the things. So it was a good learning as a company because everything works well when the lead times are fixed, when we say, okay, everything is going smooth. But here, when we had these kind of crises, it made us think really that whether these systems really make sense now, because everybody, when the problem happens, when the delay happens, when sometimes the shipment gets delayed by more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks, so people get into panic mode and start doing a lot of manual activities, to change the plans and everything, because it's no more system-based, because system needs a perfect flow and perfect sync of data from each touch point. So it's no more happening because of these delays. So one way is we learn how to use these data. We also are developing some kind of a predictive analysis tool in place where it again teaches us, because there's one of the discussion I had with you before this, during our pre-discussion, that everything digital works well in utopian world, but when things doesn't go as per that, we don't get the desired result out of the digital platform.
But that's exactly where we were talking, right? The visibility gives you that power to respond to such an instance when it happens.
Exactly.
Right?
So it is both a boon as well as a thing, because sometimes people get very emotional about, oh, I have implemented, I spent so much cost, so much effort in implementing this digital system. Or because of all these days, all these delays and all these issues, I am not able to get the required output. But one thing what is very important is to have a plan B in place. So all these digital tools anyways will help you, though it can be made manual or with another system, whatever you mean. But end of the day, this digital data is anyways going to help you do more better predictive analysis and switch to plan B in the future. So it is also important as an organization, every organization, not to give up just because things are not stable around. It is also to learn and adopt and evolve and learn and adopt. It's more like a PDCA cycle, you know. You keep doing things, you keep learning things, you keep improving things digitally. So because digital system is not kind of a one-time project. In the past, in many companies, we say, okay, I implemented SAP, that's it. So then we go for next 10 years, no issues. No, it doesn't work like that anymore. So it evolves every day, it evolves every month, every year. So I think as companies, as a responsible company, we should also look at this. What is implemented yesterday might not be relevant for today. So we need to also evolve digitally also, not just as a process or as a company. So this is also equally important. So this is one of the key takeaways.
Mr. Chatterjee wants
I'll give some examples. So how digital things are helping us. We have a transport management system that's against a SaaS application. So let's say I ship out a truck full of transportation destined to reach a customer in 5 days' time. And then we realize that there is a flood and he is not able to take this particular route. This application, what is helping us is to find the alternate best route and also able to communicate to the customer that you will receive the consignment on this date. So there is a delay because of this. So this is building the proof, and it also gives us the proof of delivery, builds confidence within the customer. The customer knows that there is a delay, but there is a valid reason why it is delayed. We can track that vehicle real time by the time it reaches the customer. So this is one example. Then I gave you the other earlier example. On the other hand, let's say on the inbound side, if a similar thing happens, the digital platforms are helping us to create the alternate scenarios. So we do a scenario planning very quickly within 15 minutes. We know exactly that this particular consignment is stuck in the port. It is not getting cleared because there are some more certifications required from BIS, let's say. And then what's the alternate SKU you want to produce? What is the alternate model you want to produce? We can quickly run a scenario planning and say the line doesn't go idle, and then you can plan an alternate. So there are so what digitization does is it improves your visibility, number one, and because you have a better visibility, that's one thing. You are able to take decisions faster, and as you want to take decisions faster, these AI-enabled engines, if you use, or analytics engines you use, it is able to churn more data than you would have done manually. So if you want to do a scenario planning, let's say I have active almost a lakh of part numbers because we produce variety of engines from 3 liter to 60 liter. It's a very small engine to an engine of the size of a big room. If I want to do manually to decide what is the alternate, it would have taken a week's time, which today we can do it in less than 15 minutes. So it improves your visibility, it improves your analytical capability to reach the alternate, which is the best suitable alternate, and you can do it much faster. So I would say, but the adoption is a challenge. The biggest challenge for digitization is the mindset. Okay, you need the right people with the right ability. It's not that. So that's the biggest challenge. Do you have a team who can run these analytics, who can use these tools, depend on these tools, okay, and get you a meaningful result? So digitization per se is not a challenge. It is not very expensive. You can adapt. You can have SaaS applications sitting on your typical SAP or Oracle, perfectly possible. The biggest challenge is that to have the team who can actually use this analytics and get you meaningful results.
Karthik has a specific idea about change management. I want you to give your take about change management. I know you have a few thoughts about change management, because though I wanted to kind of carry on from Mr. Chatterjee's earlier point, but now since he's ended on this specific user perspective. So why don't you give us your take at change management, specifically when it comes to converting from legacy systems to digitized ones?
Definitely, I think change management is something very important and something very prerequisite to any digital transformation because it's the starting point. As Mr. Chatterjee rightly mentioned, the mindset and the will of the organization, right from top to the bottom line of the pyramid, should have that message, pass it across to have this right mindset and the change management culture around the organization. That is very prerequisite. But how do we handle such change management or how do we drive it within an organization? So let me go back to an example of my own experience. Again, I'm going back to the S&OP example, which the panel has already covered extensively. So we all know about how S&OP has evolved from traditional long process involving multiple stakeholders, having lots and lots of meetings every day to arrive at one consensus, right? But now with the advancement of digital technologies and SaaS platform, it's more or less concurrent. Everything happens in parallel, and with the data and the information at right time, the people in the S&OP council can able to take the right decision. So this is one of the advancement digital technologies bring to the table. But in this journey, there is a hidden challenge or a bigger work happening behind the scenes is the change management. When I say change management, it's about making sure the data is available in accessible condition, because when you talk about data, it can extend to various levels of data and layers of data. Typically, if you look at your organization, it is all about enterprise data, right? But it is not about enterprise data, but it also beyond enterprise data, which is externally we are generating a lot of data, right, from our service providers, logistics providers, customs, government bodies. So all this tiny information is very important to make that critical decision on a timely manner so that the end customer demand is fulfilled on time. So with extent of data availability within the enterprise as well as outside the enterprise, so it is important to have that visibility of where the data is and how do we generate the data and bring it to one platform. So that is one of the change management in terms of data-driven processes we have to establish as part of the change management journey. And the next part is about people. So once the data is clear and available, then it's a matter of the people to access it and have the right will and intent to drive this change management towards the end result. So the people transformation is something, it has to be collaborative around the organization. In my personal opinion, lots and lots of trainings we have put in within our organization to identify the change agents. Overnight we cannot change everyone's mindset or the intent, because everyone comes with different dynamics and different experiences. But converting a digital non-native to a digital mindset framework is the biggest challenge, and it can be only achieved through time and effort from collaborative involvement of HR, L&D, and the department functions itself. So the next and last but not the least is on the technology itself. Having the right technology will save a lot of time, because selecting the wrong technology and cribbing over it the latest point in time is it's a complete transformation failure. So all these three things align towards in the change management journey. I think we can able to avoid a lot of misconceptions and manage the challenges ahead of the journey, and then we can able to reap the benefits at the end of the implementation. So I think this is something I've learned personally. I just wanted to share here in this forum for larger
Great.
useful.
So I'd like to circle back to a case which Deepak was sharing with me offline. It was a SaaS-based implementation that you folks had done on the procurement of downstream processes. Since now with the backdrop of this change management issue, if you can throw some light on what this transition was to the SaaS platform that you moved, and what challenges did you face from the people management or the change management standpoint, and how did you overcome it? Or whether has it been successful, has it been running? Has it delivered the desired results as you sought?
It is starting to deliver, but yeah, sure. So, idea was to have one single digital logistics platform throughout the organization, which will connect all the stakeholders, uh, be it internal or external. Internal, when I say it's about internal departments, and external, when we look at it, it's upstream suppliers and downstream dealers as well, and including insurance agents and transport or logistics service providers. So, and also thing was that we wanted to overcome, although our communications are digitized, but the current situation, the complexities which we deal with, it is not sufficient if we just digitize the ecosystem. We would have to digitalize the digitized ecosystem as well with a proper solution. So that was the idea behind bringing in the SaaS solution. And it was like a co-development activity which we had with that SaaS solution provider as well. So that was a core theme. And what we started with was we wanted to focus, or we have both upstream and downstream processes in this entire chain, right? So we cannot do the entire digitalization process in one shot. So now how to define which to take first? So for us, digitalization is more about customer centricity. So how well, whatever initiatives we might take, how is it going to help me to deliver to my customer? So, and that was a prime reason why we started with downstream. Because be it, the retail partners are our internal customers, right? And external customers as well. The predominant issues which we used to face was visibility part. But we didn't want to end with that. Visibility is just one thing. But how can we digitize the entire ecosystem? Like starting with ePOD, electronic POD, starting with an automated LR issuance. The traditional method is to give a hard copy of LR, whereas what we did, we integrated with our SAP so that no person is required to come and give us LR. Whatever data, as soon as the invoice is generated, all the details flow to the system where the transporter or logistics service provider is also integrated. Without the intervention of the person from transporter side, automatically LR will be created. And then using that LR, that will get transmitted to the consignee as well. POD also gets digitalized in that process because the same LR details is going to flow to that person. As soon as a delivery is made, the consignee is going to give all the comments, be it transit damage or missing parts, whatever it might be. They will give the comments in the same link. And again, we get a digitized input in a digital platform, which we use for our transit claim process as well. So now coming, and it's a circle, and it doesn't end just with delivery, right? It has to come back to us, and whatever we need to do with respect to insurance claim process or with respect to sales realization process, all these inputs are required. And that's what closes the loop. So now coming back to the change management. So people were initially comfortable with phone calls or SMS, but we as an OEM, we cannot cater to multiple phone calls or SMSs. That's not practical as well. And also when it comes to downstream external stakeholders, people, I mean, whatever digital transformation we might want to make, PPT method is what I would call. It's like a people, processes, and technology. It starts with the people. So we went ahead with a lot of year-long training exercises. And also, there should be also a control measure put in place, because without a control measure, people might not adapt to a change so soon. For example, be it downstream stakeholders, we gave a control point that if you don't go digital, don't give us ePOD, we will not process any claims for you. It is a loss for you. So that is a control measure which we put in place. Although it will hurt, but some can be like a good, I mean, feel good control measure. Some things has to be we'll have to pass on the pinch. Otherwise, things will not move. So that's how we are.
You're touching a raw nerve for a transporter. But let me then use the hat, let me wear the hat of a transporter for a moment and ask you, with all five of you folks having moved at various levels of digitization, how many of you in your domestic operation at least, if not international, are still dependent on physical proof of delivery, a physical POD. Let's start with you. You still take physical POD from your transporters?
No, not exactly. We accept digital copies as well.
Digital means scanned copy, in your own definition.
Yeah, but we are ready to accept digital as such, digital really PDF, digitally prepared.
Venkat?
PDFs.
We are still in the physical POD, but we are right now running a project where we make everything digital, including the proof of delivery, because what is very important for us is the delivery quality of our product, because these are expensive cars. So we are running a project at the moment.
You're caring for a physical piece of paper to tell you the health of the delivery itself.
Yes, because we have various checklists at the moment. We are automating everything, because what is the challenge for us is the number of touch points and the number of
Mr. Chatterjee?
dealers.
We are in the process of transitioning to a digital POD. So out of our 16 factories as I speak, 6 of them have already migrated to a digital POD.
Digital, again, I'm questioning, sir, a scanned copy of...
No, it's not a scanned copy, it's a digital.
Genuine digital.
So it's on an app.
I got it, I got
once
it.
you do, so you take a photograph, you understand, load it
So
on
it's
the app.
scanned. In a photograph is a scan.
Photograph as a proof, but of the actual good, but you confirm the delivery through an app.
Fair.
So it's fully
Mr.
digital.
Ramo?
It's a digital copy, it's a scan copy. Which is typically that the forwarder will get it signed from the end customer and he will upload into their system. And
Fair enough. So head of digital supply chain, sir, Mr. Karthik.
Unfortunately, it is manual.
All right. So that kind of tells you where we are, at which stage.
Because
But,
we have a whole
no
logistics
problems.
project in place.
I don't
and
want to embarrass anybody.
EPOD is one thing we are also...
No worry,
planning
no
to
worry.
do.
My point was not to embarrass anybody, but let me ask you specifically, Karthik. In what realm do we actually see, it's a very simple fact, right? Let's just simply put you as a shipper, and Deepak here is the receiver. Who's the outsider? Let's say a downstream outsider, a distributor or a channel partner in some manner. You sent goods to him, and maybe Venkat here is a regional DC or something. So you've on one hand sent goods to a regional DC, on another hand sent goods to an external party. And in both the cases, the dependence on this physical piece of paper to tell you as to what is the health of the goods. While on the digital realm, there is a possibility that an internal team member, which is say a regional DC of Venkat, will tell you, fine, the GRN is telling you the goods have been received. You are actually not dependent on a physical piece of paper to tell you exactly the same piece of information. And on the other hand, is Deepak, who's possibly a channel partner, an outside agency in this case, a customer, where still the dependence of a physical POD, an interoperability of platforms can still stretch and tell you, the goods have indeed been received. And yet we are dependent on physical pieces. So is this a change management issue at the very highest echelons of power, or is it still some redundant process which we are not unshackling?
I think it's a mix of both, because some companies traditionally follow the paper-based POD as part of their compliance. So there is a procurement policy associated compliance which...
So there's a difference. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't want to interject, but let me interject here in any case. Somehow you can feel the pain here, right? So there is no compliance, by the way. There's no legal compliance that can tell you that a piece of paper will qualify as a physical POD. Policy, I might still agree. You may have an internal policy.
Yeah, not all
All of you
companies
may
do.
have an internal policy to tell you, okay, fine, let's collect pieces of papers. But, in terms of compliances, statutory compliances, there is yet to have one. Specifically in the post-GST era, where, the e-way bills are ensuring hand-holding or transitioning of goods from one party to another, and inter-party to other also, not only from inter-warehouse. But so those things have already been tackled at the highest policy level in statutory systems. So organizations still stuck with collecting pieces of paper is something I was trying to ask.
I think it's more to come with the infrastructure in where we operate. Because when you talk about GST or e-way bill, we have this robust digital public infrastructure formed by government, which acts as an ecosystem, right? So if I put a North Star comparative to what government has done for digital public infrastructure in logistics or GST, why can't an organization do within their own supplier network and transporter network? That is something a North Star for each of the organization, but it is very difficult to achieve because government can achieve because they have their own agenda and the power to do that. But when it comes to individual and private organization, it is all about having that collaborative intent and, for example, like providers like CII or different regulatory bodies can group together some of the companies and form this ecosystem. So that will eventually pave way for frugal innovation where one technology and one infrastructure can solve many of this digitalization opportunities and the problems around it. So that is something on the North Star I'm just mentioning here. But to specific to your question on this role play, basically, I think it is more to come with infrastructure availability. How do we connect the data between external agencies and the organization? And the second one is about the change management because the partners are not stable in the system. The partners may change, and the process each partners will come with their own process. So there is a need for standardization between how the OEMs and the partners work with each other. I think some of these areas, if we can able to tackle and make the standardization effort, I think there will be one digital solution which can solve all these transaction problems.
I don't want to put you to a spot here, but you really don't need anybody else telling you how to run your business. You can decide that. But anyhow, I don't want to stretch this beyond a point. But let me use this discussion to come to you, Mr. Chatterjee, about a point of. On one hand is this overhanging fancy about conventional analog systems of processes, and then on the other end of this horizon is processes like IoT, processes like Industry 4.0, RFID. If you can throw some light to, for us on some processes which can be conceived as next gen, so to speak.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of opportunity. So when we talk about supply chain, I would rather value chain, it is the end-to-end. It starts from your suppliers, your logistics partners, your factories, and ultimately delivering a good to your customer. So big chunk of that is your factories and the warehouses. Okay, so that's where I guess the bigger opportunity is, a large opportunity of what we call now, what the program which we are running, I lead that globally for Cummins, is called connected factories. Okay, so connected factories, what we are trying to do is that remotely, as I sit here, if I have my laptop, can I see how, let's say, a factory in Charleston in US, how are they producing today, and are all the machines running, and are they running as per the cycle time? 10 years back, it was not, it was difficult, maybe it was still possible. Today, it is absolutely possible, and that's what we are doing. It is that we connect factories end-to-end. We do not plan, we connect factory end-to-end. We are able to see the equipments in real time, globally from anywhere. We can tell when did the machine stop, when did it start. It stopped because of what? Was it waiting for a material? Was it down because there was a breakdown? Or it is maybe blocked. It is not able to unload the material to the next station. We can see it on an everyday basis. We are able to push that data into a cloud, into a BI dashboard, and then eventually using analytics to say, if my OEE, which was the overall equipment effectiveness, was 65 yesterday, what are the bottlenecks I can remove, looking at the analytics, to make that OEE 85%? And let's imagine and you can run the maths, if you improve the OEE for 20 basis point, how many available days in a year improve? So if you have a factory which is utilized 100%, well, fortunately if you have a good demand, and that's what we have pretty strong demand across our globe. Many of the factories have order board full for next 3 years because of this data center pull, because there's a need for larger gensets. If I improve the overall equipment effectiveness from 65 to 85, let's say, I can have at least 20 additional working days in a year. Imagine the impact on the top line. And this is possible. Was it not possible earlier? It's difficult because if you are looking at the data manually, trying to record all the breakdowns manually in the register, trying to go back to the machines and take a corrective action, it's very difficult. It's not that easy. That's the first step. And then what we do is that we feed that data into our CBM module, which are what we call as 3DX or digital twin. And then we predict that if these are my critical equipments, my digital twin model, okay, predicts that this may go under breakdown before you've attended for a preventive maintenance. So let's say the preventive maintenance for a very critical equipment, which is one of a kind, it stops the entire flow in a factory, is scheduled for a preventive maintenance next month on the first week of a Sunday. My model tells me you cannot wait that long. You have to prepone the predictive maintenance because there is a spindle which is going hotter. Or there is a spindle, there is a higher vibration. It will fail much earlier than your next scheduled preventive maintenance. It can work other way around also. If everything goes right, I do not need to do that preventive maintenance at that point of time. I can actually reschedule it. Okay? And then the other part is that we are connecting all the, and this is there, it has been all, we're connecting through a energy management system where we are looking at all the energy sources and trying to optimize, do I need to run this blower in the third shift? Or do I need to switch off this blower in the third shift? I need that because already the temperature is cold. I don't need to run it throughout the thing. So it's a closed loop system. I optimize energy. So what I'm trying to say is that today the technology is available. It is not expensive. I can repeat, it's not expensive. It's a myth that it is expensive. We have applications where you can connect the equipments, your PLCs, take a tag out of the PLC, multiple tags, connect it. The connections are not difficult, and you can see it real time. And these platforms are not expensive. You can connect one factory by spending $40,000, which is not very expensive. And in that entire region, one application can host maybe multiple factories. So it's a myth that IoT is very expensive. No, IoT is not expensive. The difficult part is that you need skilled people who can do this. You need very skilled IT and OT engineers, the controls engineers who know this, who knows Industry 4.0, who knows coding in Python and Java, okay, who knows how to connect the machines, who knows how to analyze those tags and give you the meaningful results. Because what can also happen is that you will have a barrage of data coming, a trillion line items of data coming, and garbage in, garbage out. You can get very wrong signals. It can predict and tell you that these machines are not working. So what I try to say is that digitalization today, IoT, is a possibility, and it's happening. It is not expensive. You need to create that ecosystem. You need to have those engineers and manufacturing engineers and the leadership to believe in it and create that capability who can do it of your own. You don't need to go and hire a big consultant to do that. So that is one application of connected factories. We also have multiple other applications. For example, we are now converting our factories where we are trying to put returnable packaging, but not just returnable packaging. We are putting RFIDs into the returnable packaging. So as the truck enters my gate, I don't need to make a physical GRR. I capture that RFID and the data is unloaded into my system as the truck enters the gate. I don't need to make a physical GRR to receive that material. You don't need to do that. It's a waste of time. And then once I get that system, there is a WMS, the warehouse management system. I know the dynamic location where it needs to go. I just need to print a barcode on and put it on the box and send it to that dynamic location. So the location is dynamic. I know exactly where it is there. And then we use VNAs, which is the very narrow aisle, your cranes, where we can pick up the material, do our online transaction there, and we know exactly dynamically what is the inventory sitting out there. And it comes to the assembly line. We use scanners. We use a MES, which is a pretty evolved MES. This is the manufacturing execution system. And as you fit a part, you scan that part as it gets into the engine, and then at every fifth gate, there is a real-time depletion of inventory that is happening. So the inventory which is there in your warehouse is real-time inventory. It's not inventory which is, you do accounting end of every month or every quarter. So these are two examples which I gave you. One is real-time inventory monitoring, right from the time the truck enters the gate to the time the part gets fitted into the engine. You have a dynamic inventory availability, dynamic locator, you know the dynamic count. It's real time. The other part is real-time monitoring of the equipments, which you can do on a real-time basis. And I can do it for all the factories today. It's not that we have connected all factories. We are planning out of 141 factories globally. We are planning to connect about 40 of them. So we are in the process. But we can see all those in a real-time basis, okay? And that gives us a lot of visibility that what is the utilization of our factories and where it is starting late and all. So real-time visibility on operations, a real-time visibility on your overall inventory system. And if you have these two, your capability to predict your delivery goes up significantly. You know exactly what to produce, you know what you have in your stock.
So, Mr. Ramon, I want to come to you so in your current role, you're handling downstream channel. Correct. Much of the discussion that we've had in terms of digitizing the supply chain or value chain is inbound or intra-organization. If you can throw some light on, your collaborative approach in digitizing or digitalizing the ecosystem, downstream ecosystem, to your channel partners, to your customers, to your consumers, whoever you've been able to do that for.
Yeah.
And how has it come through?
Yeah, I understand. See, what I'm trying to say that, these are all the OEM guys that they may be having their additional cash which may be sitting and they may be ready to put it on investment. But as companies like us, as a component industries, suppliers to the OEMs, and there's a third-party companies, mid-size companies, and it is very difficult for them to handle putting a digitization from the starting from first to the last point. It is always can be customized, and which is needed for them to that the package as a part of package that can be given to them, and that is one of the area that I think it's forwarding that the 3PL companies, which has a major role they have to play in this place. And if you just think about us as a ICICI Bank, how they have side and how they are ahead of any other bank. Today, our payments also, it has been completely digitized with ICICI Bank, and it has been integrated with our SAP HANA. Even the supplier payments, the customer payment, it comes also. It will go and there is a bot has been installed internally that the payment will come within the 1 hour the time. It will go and then get adjusted against the customer accounts and as well as the suppliers accounts. And the payments will happen to the suppliers also. The digitized email copy will go to them. What are the invoices have been paid and what are the debits have been done and all. There's no physical intervention. There is no connection between the suppliers with the concern, the purchase guy and all. That sort of service is given by the third party, because a company is meant only for making their own products. There's the focus should be more onto their area to spend. And come to the companies that the total cost of ownership, which typically the Cummins which focus that, and from the first point to the last point, there is the 100% is the cost. There is a 20%, there's 18 to 20% the cost getting fixed into the supply chain here, which is starting from the raw material to the material reaching to the plant location, and it is going to the downstream area. But everyone is focusing on the direct cost. Nobody is focusing on the supply chain area. That's a way that those areas where companies are efficient on the negotiation part and the piece price part, and as well as within OE part and other things that they are best. But nobody is focused on these areas. These are all the gaps which are still exist, and the majority of people are not reaching that. Even today, there's more than 50% of the industry is still operating on the manual PODs, manual activities and that. That's what I was saying, that today even we are doing a B2B business, B2C business, where that we typically deal with all distributors, retailers and all. And we do with the third-party channels, like we also use a Safe Express, and we also have other couple of the forwarders also. That's both WMS and as well as TMS can be the one of the area can be integrated. And apart from that, with the change management, if any new technologies comes, that can be is a part of that as in a package can be offered, rather than that as a getting as in a separate software selling. That as another with the services as well as the digitized way, that and you can even give a better services to the companies, that the more and more people can come. If you see today in Pune region, even the 10 years before the time that everybody want to have their own office, today is a common platform is there. Somebody has started establishing the own office, that he started giving that as the bits and pieces that is sharing, that is a sitting for the different companies. That's one of the area it has been generated. The similar thing, I think that forwarding companies should think of and getting into the major customer this.
First of all, thank you for your business and thank you for using this platform to endorse us. But let me come to Deepak. I think what very pertinent point, what Mr. Rammohan mentioned about payment, is that working? The payment processing for service providers to whom they have automated. You've implemented a TMS solution which is digitizing the payment process of your service providers. If you can throw some light on how that digitization of this
digital platform, we are able to do an automated bills reconciliation thing, so that we have all the EPODs and all everything. So the system itself will tell wherever there is a deviation in billing being done by the transporter, it will throw the error. I mean, it will give a message that this is where the deviation has happened. And that getting billed is one thing, and also we are also developing the solution to support the transporters to raise the invoice in the portal itself, rather than they themselves preparing some PDF copies through some Word document, because we know most of the transporters are traditional transporters who are not well versed with the digital platform or whatever it is. So we would like to develop this platform which can help them to raise invoices itself without without the need to calculate how much needs to be billed, because the portal itself will tell this is what the billing period is and this is what you need to bill, and these are the trips for which you are billing it. So everything the portal itself will tell.
Wonderful.
And post that, payments processing, the invoice will get transmitted automatically through the portal itself, and internally we are also developing a solution. With the same solution, we are going to integrate it with SAP, so that if everything is as per the contract, no human intervention is required. It will directly hit SAP, and SAP will automatically trigger payment processing without any human intervention. So only the deviation cases is where human intervention will come into picture.
Great. I just want to add one point here, this is something maybe if I can for a moment give you my take as to how my organization, Safe Express, has been functioning, and some of those digitized functions, at least the one, if I can take the leaf out of what Deepak mentioned. Ever since we started Safe Express back in 1995, we've been deploying vendors for providing vehicles on various routes. If we are running a route between Delhi, Bangalore, there's a vendor who's providing that route for us. So ever since 1995, and this might intrigue some of you, ever since 1995, we've never ever had a vendor give us a bill. There was never an invoice. So our mechanism was always that we've been paying our vendors for a variable for what they delivered. So the function is that variable. So if you've done a trip between Delhi, Bangalore, your money will automatically get transferred to you for that trip. There's no requirement of a bill which needs to kind of come in. So something akin to what is called possibly a purchase invoice in an equivalent format. And we've of course found that this has come in very not only handy but also in terms of very efficiency friendly for us, because now we do not have any vendor who's coming in, handing over pieces of papers for us, making sure that there is a bill or something. This is much ahead of the digitization system where e-invoices could be given or documentations would be given to control that. We've always used this mechanism that in case the vehicle has reached the destination which is our own, a bill automatically has become due and we've made payment accordingly. So a bill processing system of something was what you've done is something that we've been doing without digitization, but we've still been able to do that. It has come in very handy, very useful for us. Our vendors are very happy, of course, and more importantly, it has come out, efficient. On that note, we've already exceeded our time allocated, and I do want to give the audience a chance to also quiz you, possibly put you on a spot like I have tried to do. So I'm open to at least 2 to 3 questions. in case any of you can, kind of come up with a query, please state your name, which organization you represent, and who your question is addressed to. The gentleman on the second table. Can somebody get a mic there? Okay. Can you come up and take the mic?
So, sure. I am Amit. I am from ZF. So
and who do you want to address your question to?
Yeah. So, question is for Venkatanarayan sir and Shubhankar sir. So, I take care of digitalization and cybersecurity in ZF. So, basically, we have done a lot of things we usually do. So, basically, I was before in Cummins Meritor as well. So we have seen a lot of digitalization and pertaining to the supply chain as well. So my basic question was, a lot of investment will be done by the large enterprises and all those things. So how do they take care of their supply partners for the execution of those kind of system? Because usually, and also there will be having a lot of data security policies based on the each own organizations has their own policies regarding the data security. So how do they manage like sharing? You can build any application using SaaS, and how do you share the digital tool for them to really execute in that level? So the challenges was in this way.
A very good question, I guess. We need to acknowledge that there is a cost attached to digitization, but we also need to acknowledge that there are solutions which are appropriate for different types of organizations. Okay, so for example, the manufacturing execution system which we use in Cummins is pretty expensive. It's not a very simple product, but at the same time, there are many other MES available. Which if you go to many of the tier 1 and tier 2 auto component manufacturers who are using, and they may not give all the functionalities, but they give enough functionalities to be able to track what is happening. Similarly, there are many applications which are there, which, for example, the transport management system which we are using is a local app, it's not a global app. What we only ensure is that when we get into a software shelf, we have the adequate level of cybersecurity checks before we get into the thing. So what I'm trying to say is that digitization can be expensive if you want to implement the most expensive solution, but there are also solutions available which can fit your pocket when you go to a tier 1 or a tier 2 industry. And we should see quite a few industries in the tier 1 and tier 2, they have good amount of digitization, and I would say low cost digitization which is there. And specifically in terms of like RFIDs, connected factories, or you're having a transport management system or logistics apps, okay, they may not be all very expensive. Okay, only thing is that you need to know, you should have the bigger challenge, I would say, is not the technology, not the app, not the money. Bigger challenge is who's going to do it. Globally, we face the same challenge, is who are the people who know these technologies, who are tech savvy, who can do a little bit of programming, who can adapt these apps for you and run it through. If you get an app, you implement an app, but you don't know how to do troubleshooting, you're completely dependent on a third party, you are in trouble. So bigger challenge is to create that ecosystem of people who can implement. Capital, technology is not a challenge actually.
So just to add upon what the Shubhankar has told, it's also important that when we choose system integrated, basically if it is a cloud-based SaaS application, or it's a separate standard software, or whatever you want to implement in your organization, it is also important that from the GDPR and the data protection policy, you do we do the data protection on behalf process for these kind of softwares, and we also do a lot of other checks in terms of the compliance and the governance point of view. We ensure the cloud security is also met. So it is also important to, end of the day, protect your data. At the same time, I think nowadays I see these topics of data protection, the cloud security coming more relevant. And trust me, these small-time companies who are also developing these softwares are also complying to that. I've seen many, so I do keep meeting these suppliers who come with many solutions. So they meet the demand. Surprisingly, they're even better than the ones what we see globally.
Just one, besides the formal due diligence that one can do, a very simplistic one is, and I'm sure there's a gentleman from IBM in the next panel, you can ask him that as well once again. But to my knowledge, there's one very simple system to check the capabilities of data security in any organization or any system integrator, and that is whether they have an ISO 27001 compliance or not. If they do, then data security is already met. That's a pre-check. Anyhow, can we have another question, please? Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Salim Shikalkar from Mumbai, from Globicon Terminals. My question is to Mr. Shubhankar, sir. You have mentioned that digital systems, bringing digital system is more easier than to implement it. So we are also facing the same problem. There are a lot of resistance from middle management and lower management. So I would like to know how you have tackled this situation at your level.
It's a very valid question, and we are also facing it. And believe me, it is not just we are facing in India. I am facing the same thing in even in the US and in UK and in Europe. Okay, so tendency of people is that to remain the way they are. Okay, so it's very easy to operate in Excel, very easy to run a ERP, run the scheduling, and eventually the schedule goes in the form of Excel file. Okay, we don't trust that the EDI transmission of the schedules are authentic. So we do tinkering, and ultimately a Excel file goes. So this is a challenge. And then if you want your managers to look at BI reports, do analytics based on the BI reports, it's a challenge. So it takes time. It really takes time. The topic is how do you convert the organization or transform the organization to a KPI-driven organization? Okay, rather than talking about just your subjective topic, if you say that you are rewarded if your performance improves in terms of a KPI improvement, then it changes. Then because if you want to improve that KPI, you need technology, you need digitization, and that KPI is visible real time, and then the mindset changes. Other than that, it's all effort story. You can cook up any story and get away. But when you transform the organization from effort story to a result story, the results only come when you deliver, and when you deliver smarter, then you need a digital platform, and that's the way. Okay, I guess that's one of the things which is helping us.
All right. All right. Well, we have one last question, please. Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. Myself Sandeep Mandwal. I am from Reader India. My question to Mr. Karthik. Basically, a lot of innovation, digitalization, and AI is now booming and buzzing. So, like US and China is leading this. So, how you can see India position, and how, as an industry, we can work towards so we can lead as a India in particularly this topic.
Your name, sorry,
Sandeep
your
Mandwal.
name, sir, and the organization you represent?
I am from Reader India. It's a textile manufacturing company.
Yeah, Karthik.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. When we compare India with US and China, of course, we are a little bit behind. But from a digital infrastructure point of view, again, I'm going back to that digital public infrastructure, which is gaining traction now. If you're closely following, we have a plan in terms of boosting our economy to 1 trillion. That is in 2047, Vikshit Bharat. And one of the roadmap or the lever to it is having the right digital infrastructure. So I think as a nation, India is on track in terms of achieving that the goal in 100 years of freedom. And if you note the previous meetings with the world leaders in France, the AI summit happened, and Modi and Mr. Macron conducted the session. If you have noted that, that is something like a stepping stone, we are seeing it. towards achieving this Vikshit Bharat target. So these are the macro economic or the situations happening around in developing India as a digital first infrastructure country. But if you go deeper into micro parts of it, I think each sector has to contribute digitally because gone are the times where each department is responsible only for those ministry or different themes around them. Everywhere the digital is now active, and they have to initiate digital infrastructure at each and every ministry, including the transportation. With respect to supply chain, I'm just saying transportation, government policies, regulatories to achieve sustainability targets, and also to bring the supply chain ecosystem of India more competitive to compete with China in making this North Star possible. So I think these are some of the close watches we have to keep closely looking at. I'm sure we are on the right track. And with respect to the private organizations, I think OEMs and other organizations are now realized that competing in this very VUCA environment, I would say, very volatile and uncertain, right? So the core business value proposition we are offering has to be always competitive, and digital is one arm which they have to strengthen no matter what. It's a non-negotiable now, and organizations are trying to move towards digital first, although their core product is to produce a car or any product for that matter, because the market demands the market is around the digital data, right? The data is the new oil. It's already in we are already realizing that. So even companies have already realized, not only the OEMs but also the other companies. And last but not the least, the rise of startups, especially the technology startups, adding to this ecosystem is going to be a game changer. And how these OEMs or the traditional companies make use of their expertise by collaborative partnership or co-innovation. So these are some of the levers I think the companies must come out of the traditional practice and try to leverage that to go forward towards this digital journey. So this is some of the point of views I have, and some of them I think you can already have this macro view from the latest happenings in the industry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Karthik, you spoke twice about the public digital infrastructure. To my understanding, I'm an avid follower and fan of what the government is doing in this field, specifically the national logistics policy, which is moving towards ensuring that we are not only efficient as a nation in logistics, but also cost effective.
Right.
Having said that, there are within the public infrastructure, government public infrastructure or digital infrastructure, there is this tool that we came across, which is GoUlip.
Yes.
Most of the organizations, I understand, are trying to integrate. Again, by way of raising of hands, I hope all of you are well acquainted with GoUlip.
Yes.
Are all 5 organizations integrated to GoUlip? Have yours? You are in the process, sir. What about
we
you?
have our partners integrated. So we are
Sorry?
we have our partners integrated to ULIP.
But not
directly, but
not TAFE itself.
Not TAFE itself.
So okay, in your partners we are there, so we are definitely there. All right. Sorry. So in GoUlip, are you integrated to GoUlip? You are integrated. Wonderful. Not yet. You are. Through the? All right. So 3 out of 5 are already integrated, and 1 is in the process, 1 haven't. So that's a great endorsement of what the government is doing. Just for the sake of time, I don't have any CII fellow. Oh, all right, he is there. I thought nobody's breathing down my neck. I was wondering whether I can squeeze another question. It's time. All right, so we'll take an offline query for anyone that you'd like to speak with. We've had a wonderful, wonderful chat. I really loved interacting with all the team members. And thank you very much for being a patient listener. Grateful to have you all on board. Thank you.